So then, the thing about Letwack was he said any pizza could be a personal pizza if you try hard enough and believe in yourself. And I told him he'd shit his brains out. And he said, no, I got this. And lo and behold, that's why he's late tonight.
So when he actually goes and shits his brain out, will he need to seek out the same bathroom stall that Matthew Deluxe Baldwin occupies?
He better take a selfie.
That is a beautifully clean bathroom stall. I don't want him to mess it up.
You pointed. I would never have noticed, but you pointed that out. I'm like, what? Why is that stall so goddamn clean?
Do you think that's like part of it? Like, you know how some people get ready for a selfie? Do you think that's the thing? Is like Deluxe like scrubs it from like
he might,
top
yeah.
To bottom?
He probably, and I'm assuming that's at work. Maybe he brings a stainless steel polish with him.
Oh no, that's just on the go.
Oh. Okay.
Yeah, there is a point in time where he and I, when in the final days of Toys R Us, we were exchanging toilet room selfies. And I think at one point he's like, "Hey, there's your Toys R Us. That bathroom's looking pretty foul." So maybe he does.
It is possible that he might have like a quick deploy cleaning kit for the bathroom. I mean, he might have it with him at all times.
We'll have to
ask him. Sense. We'll ask him next time. Yeah.
Well, hey there, everybody. It's Friday. Thanks for joining us. We are Figure Action. We're a new collecting focused podcast, and we're coming at you live every Friday night, 9 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. And if you've been keeping up, you can catch us here on YouTube. We, of course, are on Podbean. Sorry for the delay in getting the last episode up. I didn't hit publish. And, of course, through Podbean, you can also find us on, and Matt's laughing at that, you can also find us on iTunes and the Google Play Store. Anyway, joining me tonight, it's kind of light. We should have one more joining us this evening. We have a couple of the usual cast of characters. We've got Partsformer. How you doing, man?
How you doing, sir? I'm good this evening. I've had a very busy evening, but I pulled my shit together, and here I sit. So
there you go. And we have Joe.
Hey, how you doing? I've been struggling to get through the week. It's been hot as hell. I don't know if any of you guys have to work outside at all, but to those that have to work outside full time, building houses, doing roofs and stuff like that, my hat's off to you. I'd go in and out just a few times, and I was melting every time. So I am glad that this week is in the books, and I'm on Figure Action, and the fan's on, and the AC's blowing.
There you go. As for me, I'm doing pretty good. Wait,
let's try that again. Zero, how are you this evening?
How are you doing?
I am doing pretty well. I'm glad that it was a short week, and I'm glad that the week is over. I'm ready for the weekend. Ready to get some quality time with Spider-Man on the PS4, and ready to talk some figures with you guys. So
I'm married with kids, so I pretend to be excited about the weekend, but they're usually just as busy as the week. In fact, I probably work harder.
You say married with kid or married with kids?
Kid, singular.
Okay. I was going to say.
I mean, some people may not count that as parents if you only have one kid, but I say you can go fuck yourself.
I thought maybe you had another one that we didn't know about.
No, I mean, I haven't seen if he is or she is. I don't know.
Yeah.
I got plastic kids all over the basement. If that counts, shit's all over the place.
Sure. Yeah.
Symbiotes and robots and stormtroopers.
I mean, that's the dream, man.
I think so. I mean, that's why we're here.
You know how you have like the dog, the people that are like their dogs or their kids, and they treat their dogs like their kids.
Sure.
This could be a beginning of a new breed where your action figures are your kids.
I mean, there are people like that already. If you think about it.
It already is that way. I mean, if you think about it, we spend a lot of time dressing them up, posing them up, taking pictures of them. I take more pictures of my toys than I do of my actual kids.
You're like you're on a one way street to be on an episode of My Strange Addiction.
Yeah. People
You're the
always
one
ask
with
me,
it.
like, "Oh, you had a lot of fun with your family. Did you get any pictures?" And I'm like, I think my wife got some pictures, but I got tons of pictures of my toys."
I took a picture of Piccolo on the beach.
He was really enjoying himself. I captured the sand just perfectly in the background. It was wonderful. I spent 20 minutes staging the shot.
Now you're thinking that, like, well, shit, if I go to the beach, I could probably make like a good battle scene.
Oh yeah,
you like a green backdrop for the sky. You know, just airbrush that. Little clouds.
My poor kids. What is Daddy doing?
Just are you thinking ahead to the days when they're in therapy and then therapist is like, so where was your father growing up? They're like, well, he was there, but I don't know, something about like Devastator and Goku. I don't know. It's all very blurry. And Godzilla.
Yeah.
He had an Optimus Prime as big as me. One night I didn't eat dinner because he had to buy batteries for it.
It's true.
So, anyway, we may be joined by Final Whack. Unfortunately, T could not be with us tonight. He's got personal matter to attend to, but he sends his love. And we remind you always to go and click his videos if you miss him that much. So, speaking of toys, what'd you guys get this week? Parts, we'll start with you, man. What'd you get?
I wasn't expecting to have much of a haul this week, but I actually didn't do too bad. So, I'm a Star Wars guy. I'm excited about Star Wars. I like collecting Star Wars ships, and I don't play anybody that's ever heard of the Armada board game. I don't play that game, but I did find out that the models that they use are actually pretty damn detailed and pretty cool. So this is go ahead.
They're pre-painted.
Yeah, I didn't have to do a damn thing. So I opened the package, and here's what it's an Imperial Interdictor Star Destroyer, which is nerd for one of my favorite ships. And it's the only way you can get this ship that I'm aware of without getting. I mean, this was $25 on sale, and they sell models on Shapeways for Shapeway prices. So I'm not doing that. So I got that. It's from the Star Wars Armada series. Let me see, and then I got in the mail on Star Wars Day. They put up pre-orders for the Black Series Admiral Piet. So I like Imperials. Apparently, I like action figures of old men. So here's another one. He comes with his action figure with heavy quotes because he comes with a blaster and a hat. A hat. I haven't even opened it yet, but we'll see.
You're gonna have a shelf of old British men discussing plans to blow up Alderaan.
And you know what though? I'll love every minute of it and probably stare at it.
So I get a lot of shit for like getting the Japanese anime girls and the half naked chicks.
Oh, I have those too.
I know you do, but do you get any shit for collecting the old men?
No, there's a double
like a different
standard
kind
here?
of.
Wait a minute. I see the duality to your collection.
There's a double standard here that I feel like that maybe either you shouldn't get shit for the boobalicious women that you collect, or maybe I should get shit for the old men that I collect. I don't know which way it needs to swing.
We need to start a movement and put a hashtag in front of it and get this going.
I'll tell you what. I'll give you the end of the show. Think of the hashtag. We'll put it in the show notes, and nothing will come of it.
You ever take the Orson Krennic action figure and like go up to like Sailor Moon and have him be like, "Well, hey there, Sailor Moon. See, you wear an awfully short skirt tonight."
Well, I don't have a Sailor Moon, but I have the Samus here, so I'm thinking I could have Krennic ask for the plans to her suit and see where the fan fiction can go from there.
Oh, Nate Simmons wants to know where your hat is.
I'm so proud somebody noticed. I didn't feel like wearing it tonight, and I'm like, nah, no one gives a shit that I'm not wearing the hat.
I didn't even realize you were wearing a hat. I'm sorry.
I can't believe that. I can't
change it up and do a different novelty hat every show.
You know what? I'll do that. Let me get through my haul first, and I got something in mind. So
we need to get an old man hat.
Well, I'm 35. I feel old, so that technically all my hats are old man hats. So Zero, I met Zero this week, and he found 2 of these guys. So this is probably a minor spoiler for his haul, but he sold me one. And this is the. I mean, would this be considered an old man? I mean,
now, yeah.
Now he is, but at the time of this that this is portraying, I don't think so. You know, he's got the heavy breathing, laying on his side while they're discussing the schematics for the shed. So I got that. I was excited to get that. He also, through a quirk that he can explain better than me, ended up with 2 of these guys, which is the Figma Peabody from Portal 2. And Portal is one of my favorite game series. So when he said he had an extra, I spoke up quickly and nabbed it. So I will say that the price of these guys right now is sitting at $90 on BBTS.
Yeah.
I can't say it's worth that.
Amazon Japan it.
Sure. Yeah, definitely. And in fact, if I pick up the other one, I think he's like $60.
Yeah.
Ooh.
But I got to say, anybody that's thinking about getting these guys, like, you need to try to aim for like 60 or so, because 90 is just, it's not there. Like, it's awesome, but the materials are very plastic and hollow, which, I mean, that's the design of the figure, so that's not a surprise. But $90, there's just there's not $90 worth of things here, you know?
Yeah. I think I paid 60 for each of them. And the other thing too is Peabody is the least impressive of the 2. Like, Atlas has an articulated eye, and yeah, I can tell that story real quick. So basically, what had happened was I had Atlas and Peabody, and I lost the antenna for Peabody. So I ordered. I basically couldn't get a replacement through the retailer. So I said, "Fuck it, I'll just order another one and do one of those." And I'm going to hell for this, but one of those Amazon switcheroos where, hey, it's missing the antenna, and they basically take care of the issue. Rather than me having to go through Good Smile. And
you did not just say that live on YouTube.
I know. And what happened was I went to return. I got the package delivered, and I hit return. And then Amazon was like, "We can't locate your package or confirm that it was delivered, so we're refunding you your money." And I was like, "Okay." So
he argued and
yeah. Then I tried to contact Good Smile again, and they wanted a whole bunch of pictures. So I said, "Matt, do you want to go through the hassle?"
So here he stands without his antenna so far, because I haven't mustered up the courage to try that yet.
But the funny thing is, if you don't know it's missing, it's not. Yeah.
Right. And it's just one little plastic antenna that I don't know if anybody can see that, but there's one little clip on the back, and it's just going to be one antenna that comes up over his head, and it's not the end of the world to me.
Yeah.
Is what it is. But I'll try. I'll try through Good Smile and see what I can come up with.
Just tell me you bought it at a con or something. And
yeah. I'll a con man. No. What?
Yeah. Hey. Or got it as a gift.
That's right. The last thing, and I'll wrap up my haul, is that T found a Negan. What scale is this guy? I don't know. What is this like?
3? Is he 3 3/4?
He's a little bit bigger than that.
Yeah, that's a little bigger than that, but not quite.
He's not the full 6 inch. He's a little smaller, but it's a Negan. It's a Negan with a Lucille, and he's pretty cool looking. I know.
If you get him the proper amount of leaning, he might be a 3 3/4.
Yeah. So if I can just there
you go, make him limbo.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
Half your shit. There you go. That's so. I think that wraps up mine. I'm looking around real quick, make sure I didn't put anything away that I want to talk about. And you know what? If I see something else, I will interject on to the next person.
Right on. You're going to pull a Greg for Mercy on us.
I'm going to actually pull a funny hat out.
Nice. Joe, what did you get this week? I already know one of the things.
Well, yeah, it was down to the wire this week. I didn't have anything come in until today. And I was watching my USPS tracking, and I did get my SOC Maz and Kaiser. That is a lovely hat.
Yeah, it is.
And I may or may not have broken a chest plate on that already. I also, and by the way, that thing is for anyone who has not yet purchased an SOC. Just look at them, figure out which one you like the best. If you're not into giant robots, order one. I was amazed by the heft of this, the amount of die cast in it. I'm loving it. I don't know why I waited so long. But then the other rest of my haul is my waffle prize.
Yay!
Came today.
Yeah,
So not
waffle.
only did I finally win one, I won a big one, and I got my Fan Toys Sever in the mail. And this thing is very impressive. And as Partsformer pointed out, I did not win a prize. I won a obligation now to complete the set of 5. It's more of a burden.
Have you messed with the others?
No, this is my first. This is actually my first Fan Toys in general.
I'll have to bring Grinder to the next meetup.
I think Joe's got it on pre-order.
And he's been in and out of my pre-order cart, and I've been talking to Parts about what Dinobots I want, because I don't have any Dinobots. I wanted to get a set of Dinobots, and the price of the Fans Toys was kind of putting them out. But now I'm kind of glad that I kind of won this, because now it's kind of like fate has interjected, and it's just kind of pushing me in that direction. And now I have no choice but to spend, $800 to $1,000.
I've been there. I spent more than that because I bought Scoria, and then I bought Cesium to replace him. But at least it was like over like a 4-year period getting all this.
Well, I guess they're slowly re-releasing all of them. So
they're dumb not to.
I don't know how far out, what the pacing is going to be like, but maybe over the next year to year and a half, if I can get all 5, that'd be great.
Yeah,
I don't want to pay eBay prices.
But I tell you what, man, like when you get all 5 of them, it's like one of the most satisfying shelves. Like I've seen people that have them in robot mode. I've seen people that have them in dinosaur mode. I personally keep mine in dinosaur mode because when I look back and remember the Dinobots, I remember them being dinosaurs. Of course, I have the G2 grinder. So yeah, I spent more because I have that damn G2 one, and I'll eventually get the other G2 repaints.
But you have this nice, vibrant blue Grimlock now on your shelf. So
because that one has some sentimental value, because that was my first Grimlock when I was a kid. Well, actually, I take that back. I had the Pretender Grimlock, because I'm a little younger than you are. I was born in '85, so for me, when I was about 3-4 years old and started getting Transformers, 5 years old, I was getting like the later stuff and hand-me-downs, and Grimlock just wasn't one of them. And they had the Transformers Classics, which were the Pretenders without the Pretender shell, and I had that Grimlock, and I think they were like a Kmart exclusive, and I loved the shit out of that Grimlock. But even I knew it was like a little tiny Grimlock. I wanted the real deal, and I'll never forget going to the Toys R Us and seeing those plastic clamshell boxes and seeing the blue Grimlock. And seeing, and back then it looked big to me, and getting that thing. And it brought on a lot of good feelings getting that G2 Grimlock. So, a little way back for me. But cool. Did you get anything else this week, Joe? Sorry,
No, that's okay. No, that's all I got. Just those 2 pieces.
Right on. As for me, I had a very big week. Starting on Sunday, I got a delivery from Amazon ahead of time. I got something that I know you guys have been all raving about, and then is my first Dragon Ball Figuarts, the Goku, which was free for me because I pre-ordered them way back when T first caught the pre-order for $35, and we all thought it was a price error. And I used my my Amazon rewards points to buy him. So yeah, he cost me absolutely nothing. I like him. I like him a lot. He's a neat figure. He's got some cool articulation cuts. I kind of share the same complaint T had about the way his sleeves are, kind of how they disconnect. But honestly, it's not the end of the world. I think that he's a really fun figure to pose, and I just really enjoy how, like, I guess one of the things that I'm seeing with the Dragon Ball figure arts here is that the different expressions for them really lend to their poses, because like he's got like the smiling face, and he's got like the neutral face, the screaming face, and it really makes coordinating the face with the pose a lot more fun than even like like a Street Fighter figure would be, or it's almost as fun as like the Bruce Lee figure art that I have is. With the Marvel ones, it's like their faces are kind of like the MCU ones, I guess. With the exception of Thanos. Thanos's faces are really good and they're different. But like with Goku, there's just so much character, and you can really take the face and have fun with the pose. I enjoy it a lot. Next thing I got was, this isn't even supposed to be out yet, but word on the street was that Best Buy started getting and selling the first 10 years Ultron from Marvel Legends. And I dabble in Marvel Legends. I don't buy waves. I buy the figures I want. And most of the times that means I miss out on the Build-A-Figure. And I know a lot of people are griping right now that they're doing Build-A-Figure re-releases in the first 10 years, but to be honest, I'm really happy because this means I don't have to buy the Figure Arts Ultron. And I think he's a really nice figure. I mean, I wish he came with more accessories. I wish he came with like another pair of hands or, another face. But it's cool to have him, and I got him in one box. And he's painted, unlike the original Build-A-Figure, which didn't have a painted back. And next up, I got a figure that BBTS was selling incredibly cheap. Which is the SSX overclocking. He's like an IDW based blur. He's currently still available on BBTS for $30. And I say he is worth every penny. He's just as good as any MMC release. He's got a really fun transformation. He has light piping, but it's not egregious. Like the way they engineered the light piping, it's just kind of like a slit on the back of his head. And I don't mind it at all. In fact, I don't even mind the light piping, because when there's no light going through, it just looks like he has blue eyes on top of a blue face.
That sounds like it's done the right way.
Yeah, it's done really well. I'd say hop on it. You really can't do wrong with this. I mean, even if you don't have a huge attachment to blur, if you're an MMC collector, he fits right in. And this one kind of makes me curious about the SSX Hot Rod after messing with this and the materials. The only gripe I have is his hips are on soft ratchets, and you really can't get them necessarily where you want easily. And he's a little bit of a Partsformer too. Like he can't form his vehicle mode without both his gun and his shield. But that stuff doesn't bother me. I'm a huge Beast Wars fan, and Beast Wars, pretty much every figure required Partsforming to get into its alt mode.
And parts forming the shield for Blur that's accurate anyway. The original.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. But you have those people that are parts forming worst toy ever. Speaking of Beast Wars, I got a figure that I've had waiting forever, which is Shadow Panther, and so he's really cool. I actually kind of like the mutant head on him a bit too. They chromed it, and I'm debating how I want to display him. Eventually when they come out with more Predacons, because he's actually the first Predacon to be released. I'll probably just kind of have him lurking in the background. I don't know if I'll do the mutant head or not. I really like the way the regular one looks, but I like the way it's a trade-off.
Have you transformed him yet?
Oh yeah. Well, he comes in Panther mode.
Okay.
So you have to. Any
paint scuffages, or does it seem to be holding?
Oh, none. Since they switched factories, they've really upped the ante on paint, and like this is yellow paint on black plastic on the shoulders, and it's really sharp. It's applied evenly. I've heard from many people that they're using the 3A factory, and it really shows. And also, I got the coin for him too, and the coin has a weird anomaly because it lists him as a maximal. And what this means to me is it's probably going to be a Cheetor re-release, and Cheetor will get the same exact coin, which is good because I know a lot of people missed out on Cheetor, like TMAN. Next up, speaking of Grinder, I got my Toon head for Grinder, courtesy of GCI. Been waiting on that since last November, but they were short on stock. And man, was this a heavy week. I know you guys probably want me to shut up, but hey.
Yeah, you got what you got. Keep rolling.
I did. I got
we
my...
we are living vicariously through you.
I got my Nucleon Quest Convoy, aka the Black Power Baser. This is the fans.
Never mind.
Oh. Boy, if it's good they haven't made White Power Baser, because you'd been banned from this show. Anybody ever see that comic with the Power Rangers, and they were like, Tyranno Ranger, red power.
Hey, you know what? they somebody named the White Ranger, right? It wasn't our
fault. But this guy is really cool. I still have the original Power Baser, and he's based on the Nucleon Quest Ginrai, and he's neat. And as you can see, I put some repro labels on him. I'm not going for a Nemesis Prime. I'm keeping this as an Optimist, the Optimist that he's supposed to be. So, or Ginrai that he's supposed to be. And last but not least, courtesy of my buddy Justin Christian from Totally Knocked Off, I got a figure that I used to have and regretfully sold, and that is the Perfect Effect Warden with the add-on kit, which I did not have the add-on kit previously. And prior to the show, I was talking about my dumb reason for selling him. I sold him because I wasn't into the IDW comics at the time, and I bought him because I knew they were doing a new Fort Max, and I thought that, well, the head would fit on the new Fort Max because they were going for the same size. And then when I found out that he didn't have, and man, do I feel dumb about this. I was like, yeah, I don't really need this in my collection, and I missed that figure like crazy. I actually did a trade with Hung to Go from 215 Toys. I traded him mine for the Bad Cube Trailbreaker and Hoist.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
We all learn our lessons eventually.
Yeah, we do learn our lessons. But JC hooked me up with a ridiculous deal on that guy and the add-on kit, and I can't thank him enough for that because it was really generous.
That figure was a real step ahead for Perfect Effect, because before then they were just doing add-on kits and some overly priced, really little guys.
Yeah,
and that was like, I think that and Leonidas, their first big original figures.
He's over-engineered, but when you think about we were talking about this before the show, all the love that Flames Toys is getting, it can be kind of argued, and I will get to this later on tonight, but some of the stuff that Perfect Effect puts out, it's kind of arguable that it's on the same level as some of these high-end Action Masters. So, I'll be curious when we get to that discussion what you guys think about it. Oh, and of course, the Power Baser also came with a Dead Matrix, which is cool, and I'll probably give that to the man. I don't know if I want to give it to Target Master Hot Rod or if I want to give it to Delta Magnus. I'll give it to Delta Magnus. I think that'll look good in him. He's Diaclone. But that's all I got. That's my laundry list of things for this week. Next week will be very, very light. Drew, how are you doing tonight? And what did you get?
It's been a fun, crazy night being dad. So sorry for my delay. Hopefully, one of you guys had a very good story to start the show off with, and I apologize.
I tried. You have to tell me. It involved you and pizza.
Oh God! Please tell me it didn't involve the one with the sausage, the anchovies, and the anyway.
There was a lot of sausage. I mean, a lot of sausage.
Yeah.
it was a wrong address, and well, I'll tell it to you some other time. But anyway,
But it had your name
my week
on
was-
it. How could you say it's the wrong address?
because they misspelled Lutwack.
Was it a big sausage pizza?
But anyway, my week was pretty light. Unfortunately, two of my shipments did not come in on time. So hopefully next week I will be able to out 0-0. But this week I got finally Titans Returns Overlord after much whining, complaining. So my ollies, they finally showed up at my ollies.
And what did it look like there? How many did they have? Did they have a good spread or barely?
Actually, they had about 8 Trypticons, a dozen Octanes, a dozen Blitzwings, and this guy.
Oh, can you hold him up? Oh, Overlord, sweet.
Overlord, yes. And I'll be honest, this figure was a little bittersweet for me. Because I think I said before, this is everything that's right and everything that's wrong with Hasbro right now.
What do you mean by
that? The nostalgia's there. Absolutely. I mean, I actually, when people toss around the word my Grail figure, the actual G1 Overlord, it was my Grail figure, and I do have one. So I'm very happy to have this guy. The love is there, and that's the things I like. I mean, it's pretty solid, holds together great, decent on the articulation, even though it doesn't have a waist swivel. But then I get to things like the decals that are put in the wrong places. I would rather have had just a sticker sheet than have stickers in the wrong spots.
Yeah.
Some of the hollowness. I think the thing that really bugs me is if you have this guy and you look in where the Power Masters are supposed to go, in the Takara one, these panels actually open up flat, which is pretty cool. But there is tooling, there is engineering that they were probably thinking of putting a gimmick in that when you put the Power Master, that like these guns were supposed to push forward. Did I freeze?
No, you didn't freeze.
Okay.
Like on that real quick, I've noticed a huge, like, I would say Cyberverse is the first time in a long time we've seen spring-loaded gimmicks, and I've said to T, talking to him, I kind of missed those. It would have been cool if they just popped out a little bit when you put those in there.
But yeah, if you look, do you have this figure?
Mm-hmm.
Look in the Power Masters, and you can see there's actually little channels down here that where the heads of the Prime Masters would have pushed something in.
Yeah, like if
actually
they put
channels in there.
A trigger for like a spring release.
That would have made these guns pop forward and probably make this panel drop down. I guarantee that was the original intent. I actually went and looked up reviews of this guy versus the Takara one, and the Takara left it out as well.
And it wasn't like that they completely abandoned spring-loaded gimmicks, because I mean, if you look back to and in Titan's Return, right? Because this guy has one. Soundwave. So, it would have been just kind of like the same thing. I think maybe for them, they're probably like putting 2 of them in there. And I guess, Blaster was also part of Titan's Return as well, and he had the same gimmick.
Yeah, I still have my Blaster. I actually sold the Soundwave because you guys had pointed out that they're making a new Soundwave for the Bumblebee movie. So
with no stickers, it appears.
Yeah, but then I did panel line. Started to panel line the guy on the shoulders and the chest. So hopefully we'll see some customization. Also, I don't have it here, but I did buy a second Silver Surfer, and I completely disassembled it. And I'm trying to go for that custom paint job. My first attempt of a full figure paint.
Very nice. Look forward to seeing that.
Well, it's been educational.
Yeah,
that's one way to put it. I now know why some people have airbrushes.
Yeah, I did get one more thing, and that was the Shapeways gun for DX9 carry, and I'm trying to paint that right now. And this is my first go around painting 3D printed material, and it is driving my OCD ever so wild.
Did you prime it?
I primed it. I sanded it. Well, I sanded it. I primed it. I sanded it again, and then it's still showing that gritty texture through the paint. And like the primer was smooth, and then all of a sudden I started painting it with like a black metallic semi-gloss. And damn it, if it's not showing the like the lines and everything from the 3D printing. So yeah. I know with 3D printing, there's something like it's what is it? It's like a varnish treatment you can do. They kind of smooths everything out. But yeah, I have no idea how to go about that. It's my first rodeo with it.
Yeah, I mean, I'm looking at the Red Hood guns I have, and I'm looking at it now. I can still see the lines, but
And you painted them?
oh yeah.
Yeah, I'm gonna ultimately, when I finish them, I'm going to put a clear coat on there, and I'm hoping maybe the clear coat will take care of it. But yeah, we'll see.
Painting for me has always been kind of like when you're gambling, and you get to a certain point when you're ahead, and your mind is telling you you're ahead. You need to just cash out, and you need to just accept where you're at and be happy with it. But then there's another part that says that no, you can make it a little bit better, and then you screw the whole thing up, and then you end up throwing it in the trash because you get upset.
Let me try dry brushing that now. Oh, I shouldn't have.
Yeah.
Well, you know what I like. What I always liked was when you're painting something that's incredibly weathered, it's way more fun because you know you're not restricted by you know a crisp, precise paint job. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's all the errors you make sometimes. You know, and I think probably that's one of the reasons why I loved 08th MS Team and those kits so much is because like they were just kind of designed to be like battle worn and everything. And whenever I did other Gundams, like especially G Gundam, when I did G Gundam, they had to be crisp, clean paint jobs.
G Gundam.
Oh, come on, man. Like, that was so much fun. It was a different concept. And, it, you know.
It had a windmill Gundam.
Yeah. And it also, the Spanish Gundam was a bull.
With a sombrero.
That
was the Mexican Gundam.
That was the Mexican Gundam. They were two different ones. But, I mean, like, it was a different concept. It had fun. You know, it was very self-aware, but you know, it had some like there were some designs in that like weren't done anywhere else. Like Wing Gundam was kind of like Gundam Wing was kind of conventional in a lot of ways. It just had like really, really high concept designs, and then after that, when we got Turn A Gundam. Those were some of the fuggliest Gundam designs we ever got.
I love Turn A Gundam.
See, love Turn A Gundam, but you can't have fun with G Gundam.
I gotta look at some of these G Gundam designs.
Yeah, definitely. Like anybody out there, if you've never heard of G Gundam, you gotta check it out because it had some of the like one of the Gundams was just a giant Gundam head. Like you know, you don't get any crazier than that. And
you know why it was called that? It's because people turned on the show and went, "Gee, this is interesting."
You know what? I was talking to Deluxe today about like what Transformers needs, and I have like two concepts for Transformer shows that I want to see, and one of them is like G Gundam, where you take the whole concept of like Megatronus as the gladiator. And it's basically battle bots, and the robots are better primed to fight, no pun intended, in their alternative modes, and so their alt modes have a purpose.
That would be nice,
you know, because on Cybertron it's like, what the hell's the point of them transforming? Other than get the, I don't need to get in my car because I am my car, but why does everybody fly at that point? But the whole idea of like centering it around them as gladiators. They take on the alternative forms because that's how they fight. And then the other one I had is, taking the whole core concept of Micromasters, or what was that? Micronauts, right? Taking the whole core concept of Micronauts and applying that to Transformers, where they have to hide in plain sight. And the reason they take on disguises is because humans are an actual threat to them. Like, even a little kid could just kill your average Transformer. And so, like, they have to take on the forms like a sound bar and a toaster. And it kind of has like a Toy Story vibe to it.
That's exactly the premise of what Microchange was.
Yeah. But, kind of take that and put it in a modern setting, and give the Decepticons an agenda of, trying to, like, they're both just trying to get off Earth and go home. But, the Decepticons are trying to get power, and the Autobots are trying to protect the humans, but they can't reveal their identity. And there's like one or two people that they know what they are, and they're hiding it because they're afraid of the government. That you could have fun with that. And then you could make them all kinds of different things: computer towers, a computer mouse, a game system, a TV, a sound bar, a toaster, a microwave. Kind of that allure of Beast Wars.
Because we all want a microwave Transformer.
I do. But
I would disguise myself as this hat that Mr. Partsformer is wearing, because no one would ever suspect that.
So I will give 10 figure action points to anybody in the show or in the chat at any point that can tell me where this hat's from.
Firefly.
10 whole figure action points?
Yeah.
Okay, Jane.
Well, there goes that.
Yeah. Yeah.
10 points to Mr. Loveback. It is from Firefly.
You will not beat me in subculture references. What?
What did you say, Joe?
I said I would never realize that that's where that hat's from. And so I've Googled the G Gundam images. Oh, I've seen it. I just would not have recognized the hat. Taken out of context, some of these pictures from G Gundam are really, really bizarre.
But aren't they fun though?
Oh, it's definitely interesting. Is there some like female Gundams that are like?
Yeah, there's a schoolgirl Gundam.
I mean, there's like, there's a picture of like a female Gundam in a really odd pose with somebody staring right at her crotch.
Yeah, she looks like Sailor Moon, almost.
Yeah, yeah. Very odd.
I'm looking at the chat real quick. Gort, you get, I'm going to award you the 10 figure action points. You guessed right. T-Man, I'm actually going to deduct 10 figure action points from you because you said South Park, and you just like being wrong. It's just wrong. So one of our hosts is already at negative 10 figure action points. Very good.
Man. Well,
that's going to take a long time to recover from that deficit.
We all know what the winner gets.
Zero Zip Zilch and a whole lot of Donna.
That and a bonus.
Working on it.
Oh. Well, how about a Legends class sideswipe from X Transbots? Because we all love Keith.
But I'll tell you though, it looks interesting. I'll give it that. I mean,
yeah. Well, let's get it up here. We'll talk on the panel about it. I know Legends is. What was it that was said in Zoolander? It's so hot right now. And I think that's the thing right now is the Legends are kind of gaining popularity, especially since they're doing these kind of pocket masterpiece designs. I mean, there's kind of no ifs, ands, or buts about it. They're managing to get the essence of the character, a detailed transformation, and accuracy in both modes in a really compact package. And I think that this figure is kind of hitting all the marks. Now, Parts, I know you have the Red Alert, but it's not from X Transbots.
No, that's the Iron Factory, and he's more of the what's the aesthetic there is more Cybertronian. It's not quite real life component.
Yeah.
So, and is it Magic Squared that's also coming out with the side swipe and the Ultra Magnus, I believe?
Yeah, Magic Square's doing Ultra Magnus side swipe, and they are also doing an Optimus Prime, which looks really good. I mean, I think a lot of people were looking at that Magic Square and thinking that was a masterpiece scaled Optimus, when it very well could be a Legends scaled.
I didn't realize that this was that Keith was getting into Legends when I first saw that.
I've heard through the grapevine that they had been doing it with other companies. There's a lot of companies out there that operate under different names, but they're really part of Keith.
Oh
like
yeah, no, I thought it was
Attack.
larger scale. I thought it was larger scale.
Oh
I
yeah,
didn't realize.
And more power to it. I mean, if you can be fooled, if you're looking at a prototype or a CAD image and you can't tell what's, you know, what scale it is, then that's a pretty good indication that you might have a good figure on your hands. If you're staring at the damn thing, you're like, I can't tell how big this is supposed to be.
yeah.
Now, I guess that could be in the reverse though too. If it's a masterpiece figure and you're like, is this a Legends?
Yeah.
You know, like
Yeah.
Yeah, talking to Deluxe, it's like the Magic Square, Inferno and Grapple. Like they really evoke the look of the masterpiece in both modes. And if you're not careful looking at a picture, you can't really tell at first glance that it's just a Legends class figure. And I think that's what's most impressive about them.
and their transformation calls back a lot to the masterpieces too. If you watch Deluxe's video, you'll see they have new transformations, but you can definitely tell. Or go look up one that does the transformations, and you can see that there's some definite similarities between those and the masterpiece size figures.
I know that a lot of you guys picked up this Bumblebee Flipper. I can't remember off the top of my head who made him, but there's a lot of things that this little Bumblebee does that I think is done better than the official masterpiece.
That's
and
New Age. I think it's New Age. Isn't it?
Yeah, I think you're right. New Age toys, and I mean, you know, just to pick up for anybody watching on YouTube, I mean, this is a regular Hasbro Legends class figure, and I'll hold up a Legions class figure, which is their, you know, $4.99 price point, and it's even smaller than a Legions class figure, and yet this figure is incredibly engineered with a simple transformation that's fun, and he's made of awesome materials, and it kind of really sells home how fun it is to have a shelf of these little affordable figures that kind of do the job all the way around. Now, I wouldn't want to trade the masterpiece scale because I love having that, and I love, you know, the engineering that goes into them, but
one's not meant to replace the other, though. So you're best of both worlds. And
and you're getting play value with
right.
it.
And even that little Bumblebee, like it's the engineering on that is such that even I mean, how tall is that? What is it? An inch and a half, maybe? Maybe 2 inches.
Probably two and a quarter.
And it's not that figure manages to not only look great in both modes, but it tucks all four tires away.
Mm-hmm.
So if it's just standing there, you don't even see them. Now, two of them fold underneath the feet, and that, you know, you can see that if you lift the legs up. But even so, the others fold into the torso and have the hood fold over top of it. And it's intuitive engineering that people took time and didn't just, you know, some of these, I feel like some of these figures, like, I don't know if they're not trying too hard enough or they're trying too hard, but the over-engineering on some of them can just really put a downer on, especially if they're easily breakable. But something like that is a perfect balance between complicated and even at that size, like, you know, the most complicated thing on that is trying to get the tabs to fold back out when you're transforming it that's behind his head. And that's nothing. Like, that's easy to do.
Mm-hmm.
Now that you just hit my biggest concern, over-engineering, especially for the scale.
Sure, and they make it too complicated.
Being a KFC piece.
Yeah, and that was what I was going to say next is, what do you think? Now, Keith's quality has gone up recently. What do you guys think it's going to be the Legends class? Because this is something that is new for him under his brand. And I'm kind of optimistic because I've been very happy with his last few releases, especially what everybody likes to call Crack Rock. I think that's one of the best made masterpiece scale figures I've purchased all year.
Which one?
That was the breakdown.
Oh,
you know.
Well, let's put this. I mean, I will not ever, I have I'm the first, I'll be very vocal. I have a bias against his products. But then I did get my hands on his Cliff Jumper and his Sea Spray. And I was I have to say, I was very impressed. But then, like when we were watching Adrian the other week with his transistor and the arm busted right off in front of us.
Yeah. Now, in fairness, that while it's a reissue, it is an older mold.
And then we have I've heard the reviews of the Alien Attack stuff. Like I was watching the Ben's Collectibles one. So it's like, I mean, I hate to say it. There are some definite exceptions to the rule, and it seems to be under the X-Transbots brand. So points to that.
Yeah.
But the other brands still seem to be using that thinner gauge plastic. And something like this, I would be hesitant to spend my money on it personally. And I mean, I would have to sit there and say, wait for a reviewer to get their hands on it.
Yeah, I'd be inclined to agree.
And you can tell too with the shots that you had up, and or anybody that wants to look up the pictures of the thing, like they show a picture of it in alt mode, and it's got its doors open, and it's got the hood open, and it looks ambitious. But like you said, you got to worry: is it going to be thinner plastic? You know, where are they going to have some give? Where these things, the smaller scale Legends figures, they got like Iron Factory, for instance. You have to give it to them because their materials are usually dead solid on. Like very few Iron Factory things I've ever messed with have I ever worried about breaking because they nailed
Iron Factory stuff. I almost wish that they'd be at a larger scale. That Bruticus of theirs, I would love to have that as a chug scale.
Which is it's interesting you say that because DX9, the other company of Legends that I have figures of, like their transformations and their aesthetic is awesome, but their materials sometimes suck. Like they take a lot of extra work. You have to shave down pieces. You have to, thicken ball joints. You have to worry about breaking certain parts. And it's not.
If you want them at a larger scale, you can always get Mech Fans toys. Not that I advocate KOs, but
right. But that was the point I was making. Is that Dave said he was wondering about upscaling Iron Factory when it's the upscaling of the DX9 that happens all the time because of Mech Fans toys, and I can see why because they're so close, and then the company upscales them with better. I assume is better materials or at least thicker grade material.
Yeah.
I do plan on maybe buying that upscale Grimlock. I own the original DX9 Grimlock, so I might get that one just to compare.
Yeah, I'm tempted to grab the 5 of them just to be despots, to be honest with you, because I'm really unhappy with the Volcanicus set that Hasbro released.
Right, and this will be a perfect fill-in for that set, I think. But that's a good point, though. I mean, you got to wonder: is the quality going to be there? I don't know anything about the business sense. We'll have to get Spencer back on and talk to him about this kind of thing. But I wonder.
Or any other rep.
What's that?
I said, or any other rep if you happen to be watching.
Anybody that wants to reach out. I got to wonder: is a Legend scale figure a less risky endeavor than going for something maybe further out there? I'm sure the molding costs are still pretty high, but the parts for the figure should be considerably less. So is that something that's less risky for the company to try to dabble in?
I think it is. I think because they probably get a higher return rate on these things. Like if you think about what the Legend scale third-party figures go for, I mean, they kind of seem to be a bargain in terms of a third-party price. But when you think about it, you're paying, $20, $30, $40 for a figure that has very, very small part counts compared to other figures.
I bet more of that fee goes into the packaging of those things.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
The art on Iron Factories are gorgeous. I got to give them full credit for their box arts.
And DX9 too. I don't want them to be left out because their boxes are fantastic. Especially if anybody's seen their Dinobot boxes, like their boxes are designed like Dino Riders. Yeah. It's amazing.
I had the Doombringer set from DX9. I actually ended up selling it to TMAN. So that review of his was my old set. And back when I had my old photo review site, I had more fun with those Doombringers because those figures could actually replicate the poses of that G1 style art that they had. And that box was that wonderful G1 throwback.
Like, I've got the Mech Fans Toys 6-shot here, and this is the box for it. I mean, it's a deluxe size figure, and it goes in this big box, and it's all original artwork. Well, I say original, but there's been, reports of artwork getting stolen on figures as of late, but there's original photography on there, and it's insane. And I bet that this package costs way more to produce than the figure does. It's high res, it's glossy, it's well laid out.
So, I mean, that's something I've never thought about, though, as far when you look at how much does it cost to research, develop, and engineer a figure based on the different scales. And I understand, obviously, the more engineering and the more parts there are, yeah, there's going to be probably, but is there really that much more cost in the actual concept and research of that versus then obviously when you get to material costs, the smaller the figure, the less material cost there's going to be. And then packaging I've never really thought about the cost of packaging. But it would be interesting to ask, an insider, if I don't know, maybe we get Spence on again, if they think about that, like when they start talking about a project, that they start talking about what scale it's going to be in and what's the cost difference, or is there even much of a cost difference at all?
Well, spoiler alert for next week, we may be able to ask that question.
Yep.
Awesome.
So
also, too, I was able to dig it out real quick. Here's the Warren Pocket DX9's Optimus, their Dutch box. I mean,
look at that.
That's just classic goodness.
It is.
Anybody that's listening to it, like the box has got artwork on here that's very, very indicative of the G1 Optimus, like his posing, kind of lurching forward, holding his ion blaster up. And there's the back of the box. That's just, I mean, that's an awesome box. And not only that, but it's extremely thick gauge. Like the box is heavy with thick cardboard. Like this is like Kill a Panda thick cardboard.
What kind of articulation does that box have?
Well, I mean, there's a joint here. It's a little loose. It's floppy.
No swivels. I'm out.
There is no swivels, and
no ab crunch.
I was going to continue the joke on, but I'm not. It's about. I'm bowing out.
Say there's kind of an irony to third-party boxes when you think about it. Is most of the, and I don't know what it's like in the overseas market. Again, this is something that it'd be interesting to ask Spence since he's in Hong Kong. Here, anytime you're buying a third-party product, and same thing with Europe, and I guess a lot of parts of Asia. I don't know for Hong Kong and China what it's like, but it's funny. A lot of effort goes in to make these boxes and packaging stand out, but for the bulk of it, it's going to be online sales. It's going to be sales that are done, at a convention or through small shops where people know exactly what they're looking for and they care more about the product and the packaging. So it's kind of like a redundancy to put so much effort into the packaging for the Western audience. And it kind of makes you wonder why so much effort goes into it. Obviously making it out of thick and sturdy cardboard is great because, at that point, you don't run the risk of damaging the product and shipping, and having everything laid out nicely, definitely is collector friendly. But it just kind of makes you wonder what kind of not only what kind of budget is there, but what's the mindset behind making that packaging so elaborate and premium.
You know who had one of my favorite packagings that went the opposite direction?
What's that? When
Mech Ideas did their version of Twin Twist and Top Spin. Did you remember that? Do you remember those?
I remember the figures, but I wasn't ever familiar with the packaging.
Well, first of all, they were chug scale, Twin Twist and Top Spin.
Oh, those were those the ones that were in the clam? Were they clamshells or like cardboard
exactly?
bags?
They were in those clamshells. Yes. They were in the resealable clamshells. They pop closed, so they're collector friendly. Those guys were $33 each. And that was one of the big things why they sold so well, because it was a third-party figure at $30. But that was the thing when I saw that clamshell, and I'm like, that's brilliant packaging. Imagine these third-party Legends figures. If Iron Factory did that instead, you got a little third-party blister pack that you can reseal it.
Well, that was like the big allure.
How much that price would go down from those, and you still get an awesome figure.
The G2 Jazz that just came out.
Yeah, I was gonna say that was the big allure for me. Was that packaging was just it was what I remember. Before you came into the show, I was talking about the G2 Grimlock and seeing that on the shelf and the memory of that packaging, and it being a full-size Grimlock. I'd be totally cool with that sort of packaging. That's easy to open and close. Serves its purpose, looks nice.
You could actually display those.
Yeah, you can display it.
Put the tacks on the walls, put the figures in there, clamshell them in there. Hell, set up a pegboard in your house. Make yourself look like you got an old toy store.
But you bring up a good point, Zero, because if I've done no research and I go into, well, first off, in the U.S., anybody that's not here that may not know, there's very few third-party. They'd have to be specialty stores to carry third-party stuff. Like specialty toy stores, you just don't see them anywhere. Like I think in local area here, what do we have? Maybe 3, maybe 4 stores in the state that I can think of that would carry those.
There's more. There's probably in and about a dozen. I know All Time Toys.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But my point is just what you're saying is that, like, if I walked in to see this box and had done zero research on anything, and I walk in and see this DX9 box, like, I've been in enough dollar stores and seen the cheap knockoff toys that I'd be like, what the hell is this shit? And I'm going to put it back.
Yeah, and then you see the price.
and then you see the price, right. But you're absolutely right. Like, the people that buy these things have done the research or know what they're getting into. So it's a good point. And I think it'll be an interesting thing also to ask Adrian when he comes back from Tokyo, because he's seen them. I mean, he sent us pictures from store after store where they had third-party figures on display. And they had the boxes set out. So, I'd be just curious to see what his opinion is on that, especially now having been exposed to it like constantly for 2 weeks.
A side note about the pictures that he's been sending us, and they're great. We ought to see if we can get those put up somewhere online. But the stores that he's been in, they've had like figures out in display cases outside of the package.
That's what would sell it to me.
Yeah.
But this guy, forget the DX9, forget their box, because, well, their artwork is kind of weird anyway. But this guy in a display case is what would catch my eye.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, and that was one of the beauties of TFCon. When I went to TFCon last year, I had no interest in a lot of the MMC figures or the Make Toys. What is it? The Cross Dimensions figures, and then I saw them out of the package. I saw them in display cases, and it was a game changer. I basically kind of, there are certain products where pictures on the internet don't do it justice, where a review doesn't do the looks of the figure justice, and
like the meetups as well. I mean, the last meetup that we had. How many Toros did that sell? Because I know I bought one.
Well, I already wanted one prior, but it was
the deal, right?
Yeah, I actually already paid for mine prior, but it was
cool. Just play along.
All right, but no, I mean there's definitely things there that you didn't know you wanted until you get there. Until you can't really appreciate something until you get hands on, and there's that aha moment where all of a sudden you're like, wow, I see what's so cool about this. Case in point, I have 2 of the MMC Megatrons, and it wasn't until my buddy Lance, he was my roommate last year. He had the MMC Megatron, and I thought I thought there was a repaint, and I thought it was a cash grab. And he's like, no, it comes with all the stuff to make him minor Megatron. And I was like, wait, what?
Mind you, that's actually in MMC's playbook of doing that cash grab.
Yeah, I know. So they were successful in me, but for a lot of people, they were happy just having the one.
So he comes with extra parts that actually makes him underage? Is that what you're saying?
Yes, he does. and it comes with a $5 coupon for Subway.
Okay.
Provided you buy chips and drink. Dave's silent.
Well, before we move on, the side swipe, I wanted to ask you guys, when you look at them side by side, to me, there's bits of both that I like. I kind of like basically the entire lower half of X Transbots, and I like the entire upper half of Magic Square.
I thought the
Which one
back
do you
side of
prefer?
X Transbots' legs were kind of like clunky and hollowish, but I mean, again, they're Legends figures, so there's a little leeway.
Yeah, it's hollow, but I don't put a whole lot of thought to the back. I mean, I'm going to pose it and look at it from the front, take pictures from the front. All about the full frontal.
I mean, I don't think it looks all that hollow. Going back and looking at it again, I mean, to me, it's really going to depend on how, as Dave was saying, what the plastic's like in hand. Because if you have hollow plastic and it's thin, it definitely makes it feel way more hollow.
Right, bad combination.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That's where this jackass comes to mind.
Hold him up again and say who he is for those audio.
This would be KFC's Mugen, their version of Perceptor. This is the figure I declared war with on them about.
He's he's probably the only IDW Perceptor you can get outside of the Titan's Return.
Iron Factory and the Iron Factory.
Well, I mean in chug scale.
Yeah.
Back on the shelf, you guys.
I loathe and despise this figure. I tried. I had it once, and the first time I tried transforming it, all the plastic split on me, and then I raised a slight stink online, and Orson from Captured Prey actually arranged on getting me a replacement because he's awesome like that.
Yeah, he's a good dude.
But yeah.
So why do you keep him? I'm just curious. Like, you seem to have a sort of unbridled hate for him, but then you placed him back up on your shelf.
I bought it. I paid money for it.
Well, sure, but you could always get money from some unsuspecting fool.
Or you could give them away. You could ship them to me.
Or you could ship them to Joe. Or you could have a contest. Get this shit off my hands. The hashtag.
That's what I did with my Storm Collectibles Ryu.
Wasn't that on the agenda for last week? I was going to try to mention.
It was. We didn't get to that. You're welcome to bring it up anytime you want.
Well, unfortunately, I can't get to what I actually want to be my prize. But for our regular listeners and for our people watching at home, I am going to propose a contest on Instagram. You guys can put us a hashtag of Figure Action podcast. Of honestly, give me something cool with your figures. You want to Photoshop, throw some Photoshop. You want to go ACBA, go ACBA. You want to throw a scantily clad woman? Don't tell my wife. But I digress. I want to try to run and highlight a couple of pictures every week. And at the end of September, I will give away a mint and sealed box Deadpool Marvel Legend from the big Juggernaut Build-A-Figure wave with all the weapons.
The best.
I have an extra. The best one with plenty of toys. I will be scouring the Instagram for that hashtag, Figure Action Podcast. And if you know other people who want them, pass the name around. And hopefully next week we'll have some we'll be able to highlight some pictures.
And we'll starting the shows throughout the month with that hashtag reminder so you don't forget. But anybody listening to it now, just make sure you start doing it.
And we'll post it on the Facebooks and the Twitters and the Instagram and remind everybody.
And it's totally biased in my judgment of what I want, of who gets it, because it's my contest. So just get creative, honestly.
I actually plan on running a contest soon as well.
I plan on winning that contest.
No, we are all exempt.
Yeah, you're exempt as a host, unless you're like you take it. Parts couldn't be with us tonight.
He says, I quit.
Wait a minute, this asshole's in the chat.
Oh, and it has to be continental U.S. I'm sorry. It's got to be continental U.S.
Meanwhile, Tim K in Germany is like, oh no. Sorry, Tim.
And actually, you bring up Tim K real quick. I do want to mention that this calls back to the package discussion. He actually, the collector's card is sort of a love-hate relationship between collectors. Some people flick the damn thing across the room and they hate it. Some people actually collect them and fill up notebooks with them or sleeves of, collector's bins or three-ring binders with them. That dude actually had a great idea. I'd never seen this before, and maybe lots of people do it. Maybe I'm just got my head up my ass. But his displays, he used the card as like a placard or like a little placement that showed what the thing was and had it on the display with it. I thought that was a great idea. So shout out to him for having a good idea that at least is
That's a great idea, actually.
New to me. I'm sure there's tons of people out there that
cards,
do it.
Warbitron had the best of those collector's cards. Those suckers are credit cards.
Yeah, it's not just Warbitron. There's another company that does like that credit card grade.
I mean, this is better than MMC's. MMC had some good ones, but these things are freaking.
Yeah. Can't remember off the top of my head who it was. I have to open up some figures to see if I can remember.
But anyway,
we had in the notes. I thought we talked about this last week. The new Marvel Legends. Was there some new news?
We may have. I think we did talk about them. So if we've already rehashed, I don't anything.
But in Marvel Legends news, and I haven't seen this going around anywhere, our very own T-Man discovered that at Five Below stores, the entirety of the Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2 Mantis Build-A-Figure wave is available there. And I'm not sure if this is a result of the Toys R Us closure or not, because that wave kind of started seeing a resurgence at Toys R Us before they closed. But it's kind of interesting. That was a good wave of figures, and right around the time they started using digital paint. I know T found Rocket, Nebula, and oh boy, what was the name of the gold dude?
Oh, X-Nilo?
X-Nilo, yeah, in one of his recent toy hunts. And other folks have been saying that the whole waves are showing up there with Gamora, and it's funny to see Nebula there. It's probably it's the only MCU representation of her, and I know a lot of people that chop and change their Fig Arts displays were looking to get her and Mantis, myself included. I actually bought. That's the only Build-A-Figure I actually ever built, was because I wanted Mantis that bad.
That one had that really good Yondu with it, didn't it?
It had fantastic Yondu.
Yeah.
But that was the first wave. That was the first wave. This is the he found the second wave there. But yeah, Yondu was a really good figure.
I know things.
Stuff.
Also, it's that Death's Head 2 figure, which I need to get another one.
Yes, that was the other one that he found. And for $5, I'd be more than willing to get that Death's Head 2. In fact, he was originally supposed to be the Build-A-Figure for that wave. They decided to make it Mantis.
But also, that X-Nilo is great if you're a customizer for fodder. It's a great body to use.
Yeah, just pop that head off and
pretty much
go from there. Well, the thing is, he feels very hollow.
He is, but the poses he gets into are really nice. So put another coat, change him to something else. So
that's a fair assessment. Moving into another bit of news we got.
Did we talk about? We didn't talk about. Oh, sorry.
Oh, what did you want to talk about?
We did talk about. I can't remember last week. We did talk about Canada, the Canadian release of the Marvel Legends.
That was that Marvel Legends way. They had Mystique, Weapon X, Guardian, a few more exciting figures in there.
Wendigo.
Wendigo is the other one. Somehow stayed on our dock. We're not the most organized out there, but hey. I'm going to go over a piece of news that I'm stupidly excited about. I'm a big fan of this company, and that would be the Perfect Effect Jet Prime. This kind of came out of nowhere today, and I love this. I'm excited for the Siege Prime. I still plan on getting that, but this is fantastic. This is kind of a
what scale is that?
mashup. It's probably going, knowing Perfect Effect, it's probably going to be in and about masterpiece scale, if not a little smaller. They don't really tend to pertain to a scale so much, but I mean, I love this Optimus. He's kind of a mashup of the G1 and movie. I actually kind of dig the little flame effects on the front of his robot mode.
Teeny tiny little callback to the movie Prime.
Yeah, the axe. I love how the Energon axe is a hybrid of the movie and the G1. I like how they did the trailer in movie Jetfire colors, and I really love how the trailer forms this power armor that looks like the movie Jetfire, but he has the aesthetics of G1 Prime. And
holy,
this is the perfect example of a figure that no one was planning on. Nobody was knew anything about that. You know, mostly I'm sure somebody knew, but you know, it just came out of left field. That is all of a sudden capturing hearts. Now, see, looking at the base Prime, I would have said that's Chug, but I'm wrong a lot, so I'm not sure.
It could be a Chug scale. There are a lot of people on some of the Facebook discussions who are saying that this kind of looks in and about like a not a remold of, but using some of the same engineering as the Perfect Effect Ginrai. And for anybody who doesn't remember that, it was an add-on kit for the Power Master Optimus Prime from Takara, or the Titans, you know, the Titans Return Power Master Prime. It was really meant for the Ginrai. And
TMAN is chiming in and says she's pretty sure it's a Voyager.
Yeah, and I wouldn't be surprised if it isn't. Now the combined mode, that's gonna be big. Now, one of the questions I was talking about before the show is, you know, a lot of people are kind of looking into non-transforming Transformers these days. There's a lot of popularity with Flames toys. There's a lot of popularity with like the 3A statues, but Flames toys is picking up momentum. Personally, for me, I like my Transformers to transform, even if I don't flip them back and forth all the time. I do like having high-end figures that I know have the capability and are engineered to do it. And you know, you look at like the Flames Toys Prime model kit in different league, but you look at the Flames Toys Prime and Star Saber. If they were to create something, and again, like, you know, Perfect Effect does some really cool figures. At the beginning of the show, I showed off this guy, and he's one of the most impressive pieces that I've ever owned. And I was super sad to get rid of Warden the first time. As a display piece, like, you know, you look at this and, you know, he doesn't have to transform, but he does. And he's got all the articulation. He's got the engineering. He's got the paint. I mean, it's one of the first examples of you know, a really good ab crunch on a Transformer. You know, there's just so much engineering in here. Like this abdominal piece rotates. You know, there's paint where there doesn't need to be paint, articulation where there doesn't need to be articulation. You know, a lot of pieces come off and are integrated and become weapons. To me, that's more impressive than any highly articulated action figure could ever be. I mean, as a lifelong Transformers fan, that's where a lot of the allure comes from. And you know, you see something like this, I want to know, what do you guys think? Is this more exciting or less exciting? You know, what's your hot take on a piece like this?
My immediate thought, and a little bit of pushback to that, is, especially take your Warden figure there, for example. Like, his alt mode, and this is just my opinion, like, you know, his alt mode doesn't matter, right? I mean, and I say that in context of the comic books, where him and like IDW Megatron is hot in Lost Light right now. Like their
Yeah.
alt modes don't matter. In fact,
Voss.
I think Megatron's. What's that?
No, what's his name? No, Voss. Who's the guy who ran the Decepticon Justice League? Justice Division.
That was Tarn.
Not Voss.
Yeah. Their alt modes, like how many times do they transform in the comics? And Megatron's alt mode in his current form in the comic books, like we didn't even know what it looked like until Alex Milne released the sketches on Twitter, and then I can't even remember if it showed up in the comics. I don't think it did yet, but we know what it looks like now. But it didn't matter, like And MMC came out with their Megatron to mimic the IDW style, and they kind of had to make up their own alt mode.
On the flip side, though, with Hot Rod, they ended up copying the MMC design to a T.
You mean the IDW?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and it looks great. But my point is, like with the Megatron is he's sitting on my shelf now, and I'm glad he transforms, but he's a good example of one that kind of like Warden, like that Warden there you've got looks great. But I don't know. I don't know if I have a point. I'm just saying it seems like
I get what you're saying. Yeah. You can understand why non-existing like why there's a place for Transformers that don't transform, but at the same time, it's you look at, like, I own the Flames Toys Drift, and like when you move the leg, all those panels shifted and all, but they didn't need to do that. What was the point of all that engineering? Why did it have to be so expensive because of that? Why did it have to have panel shifting when they made absolutely no difference, and you wouldn't see it if it wasn't pointed out to you? And I know you own the Deadlock, right?
Yeah,
MMC Deadlock.
Mm-hmm.
Do you enjoy transforming him?
I do. He's very Batmobile-esque, so I like having that mode.
And for me, those are two of my all-time favorite Well, I guess it's the same mold, but like one of the things is like those MMC figures, I take them off my shelf all the time and I flip them back and forth.
Same here.
And they recapture that magic. Now there's the whole case of being over-engineered, but at the end of the day, if you can create a piece that's just as good of a display piece that does transform, even if it's over-engineered like Warden, the fact that it does is kind of a selling point. I may not flip that figure back and forth much, if ever, but he can. And, I can also take a figure like Carrie. I can take a figure like Calidus or Stray or Alter Beta, which is the Hot Rod or the Rodimus Prime or Hot Rod or Drift. I can take all those and I enjoy flipping them back and forth, and they're awesome display pieces. It's cool to have great, highly detailed Transformers, and T-Man's chiming in. He likes the non-transforming Transformers. They had the best articulation ever. But when I had that Flames Toys Drift, it didn't tick all my boxes. It felt fragile. It didn't feel like it was fun to pose. And that's the price point
thing there too, though, right? I mean, now take Flame. How much is it MSR or a retail?
$350.
If that thing was $200 at its current build quality and paint, what would you say about it?
I'd still give it a thumbs down because I know Joe had some fragility with his Mazenkaiser, but I've never had any issues with my SOC figures prior, and they're some of the best made figures I've ever owned, some of the best articulated robots I've ever owned. I'll have to bring around the Gal Gar sometime, and the Voltron as well. They're solid, they're very playable, and when you spend that sort of money on a figure that just feels like it's made out of gunpowder, why? I couldn't wait to recoup my money on that figure.
Sure, yeah, and figure quality is a big part of it. Let me throw one more thing out there. So you own the Astrobots, right? Both of them?
Oh, yeah.
What if, and again, I don't know the answer. I may be off in the distance with this, but what if the Astrobots were retooled and recolored into, say, Bulkhead?
You know, I
as a stand-in for bulkhead with your MMC guys or your chug scale or whatever, you know.
see that's a case where the cost is right. Though the Astrobots are a great example of a lower cost figure that ticks so many boxes that they're made well. They're probably some of the most heavily articulated figures that exist on the market. Period. The only thing I can detract points on them is the legs. That hip joint.
Yeah.
And even then, there's a workaround for it. But still, if they look the part, they were of a decent price point, which in my opinion, they are. And they had the playability. And again, the Astrobots are two of the best made action figures that I've ever laid hands on. Like, they're solid. Like, I feel like I could throw one across the room.
Yeah, definitely. They're that hardened plastic.
I mean, would you give yours have you given yours to your son to mess around with?
I haven't yet, but it's not something he'd probably be into.
But even still, would you feel comfortable?
I would, yeah.
Exactly. So that's like the big question. If you would give one to a kid,
sure, then
that figure passes the test. And I think that's where you have to look. Like with SOC figures, my only reservation of letting a kid handle one would be they're pointy. Let me have some fun with this. Go ahead.
First of all, I'm going to call BS on you.
Okay.
I actually understand why you don't like the Flames toys, because actually in some ways that's very similar, to make this all about me, how I feel about KFC. You spent money on something and you were horribly let down on that. The reason I'm calling BS on you on that one is, don't you happen to have a very large, oversized Megatron the size of a teddy bear that you absolutely adore?
The Moss Toys one?
Yes.
Yeah, but that's the thing.
And
the price is there.
The price is there. No, hold on. Okay.
Okay.
There goes my point right there. Your initial topic on this one was non-transforming Transformers.
Yeah.
Which I understand. Which, as I said, your first example is the Flame toys, which I absolutely agree with you on that one. I feel the same way actually about Hot Toys and things like that, because I'm someone who likes to mess around with stuff. I don't like to just immediately put it in a Dettol and dust it off and say, okay, that's pretty, move on with my life. But when if you have something that's worth its price point, you mentioned your SOCs. I've mentioned in our group chat how much I loved the SRCs, the Super Robot Chigokins, which were slightly smaller scaled. You look at this Olaf Chigokin Megazord, which is that big bulky thing, versus the Super Robot Chigokin, which, while it doesn't separate into its components and such, is articulated as all hell. And I love that figure. And it killed me that they stopped that line, because if they made a Voltron like that, I would be all over it faster than me on a bad joke. So,
hey, you know when not to cut you off, but you know when a bad joke becomes a dad joke?
After I tell it?
No. After the punchline becomes apparent.
Oh, God.
I'm going to click
telling that when I work tomorrow.
Broadcast right now.
Right about now.
No, but
I have to agree with the whole price. Look at the
you got burned on a price
that it is, and what they're offering. So with the Max toys, they're less than half the price of the Flame toys, and they have something. They have the size, and that's what you're getting. Because a lot of people aren't going to get something that's that ridiculously huge, but it's a really cool gimmick, and that's what the thing. So what's the gimmick? And if you're not going to give me something that can transform, what other gimmick is it going to have? So for Flame Toys figures, $300 and up, what's the gimmick? And they're kind of small. They're not big, and they have some LEDs in them. Yes, they have great articulation. That Tarn looks amazing. I'm still conflicted, and I would love to have the Tarn just by looking at it, but it's something that obviously I would probably wait to let somebody like Zero buy one first, and I want to take a look at it and decide if I want to get it. But but it's like, the price is just too high. So if it was a lower price, and it had some other kind of gimmick going for it that instead you're sacrificing the transformation, then it makes sense. But when there's really the gimmick's not there and the price is too high, then I have to agree with you. I'd rather go with something like this.
But that's the thing. I mean, I'm just going for the initial discussion to kind of where it kind of got turned into. Is there a market for highly articulated, non-transforming robots? I absolutely believe there is. Do we feel that Flames Toys is the one to fill that niche? In my personal opinion, I don't think it's worth it. And I think it's kind of consensus here. They don't hold that value for that.
Yeah. No,
if someone's going to hold the torch, Flame Toys isn't going to be the one.
Make me put my money where my mouth is. I mean, I didn't want that sound wave until I saw, Laserbeak transform shit. And I think that the Mega Action series, I think that they kind of, I think that they're their own thing because the scale too. Now, like the thing about Flames Toys is that they're masterpiece scale, and I kind of separate the Mega Action series from Flames Toys because they're so massive. They're at a scale where I don't think they'd be fun to transform. I've been getting hit up all week going, Zero, are you getting that Lewin Resources Prime? And I'm like, I love Optimus Prime, but I can't see how a figure at that size would be fun to transform. And with the Mega Action series, it's just that. I mean, it's like you're holding a toddler.
So, how much was that Mega Action series Megatron?
180.
All right, so 180.
Yeah.
So let's say they make one on that's about the same. That's going to be a masterpiece scale figure.
Mm-hmm.
Say that engineering, and they sold that for $85. Would you say a masterpiece sized Megatron that does not transform but is that articulated? So I'm chopping that price that scale down 3/4, and I'm chopping its bottom line in half. Would you have that on your display shelf, and would you be happy?
It depends, and I think it would be a different display shelf because when I look at my masterpiece figures, a lot of the look that I give them is knowing that they can, right? That they're fully functional, that there's something that looked like they walked off the screen and they're fully functional. It's like,
would you build a collection of that?
Of core characters, probably. Yeah.
Okay, there you go.
So it's even cheaper than getting a masterpiece figure.
Right.
So that makes the decision a lot easier. When the price is a little bit higher, then you have to look at it as, what is this giving me that a transforming figure can't give me? Is it giving me some kind of design that you can't get away with a transformation? Yeah. Or does it just look like the same figure?
And that's what it was. So just based upon that, and yes, I totally hijacked it and threw this back at you. There is a market for a non-transforming line.
Yeah, no, I mean, you got me there. I mean, one of the things that I appreciate with Soul Chigoken is they have those perfect transformation pieces, and then they have the, accurate to film pieces, right? So with Gal Gaigar, you have hands that he can transform with in all the modes, and they're slightly articulated, and then he comes with the fully articulated hands that are giant, that there's no way they're fitting in a transformation, but all 5 fingers are articulated and they look way more natural on the figure. With the Dragon Zord, he actually can form the Dragon Spear, but then he also comes with the piece that parts forms and looks more accurate to what was used in Super Sentai Power Rangers. So, I like that they accommodate for both sets of their audience. The people that want something to be one functional piece, and the people that want it to be as accurate to the screen as possible. And I guess that's the thing is, so all of the Flames Toy stuff is super, or I would even say super, I'd say it's hyper stylized. And there's a market for that too. I know, our friend Bobby is very into, additional details, regardless whether they're present in the original comic, animation, movie, whatever. People like that extra layer of detail. If they
let them buy it.
Yeah. If they made like something that was akin to the Marvel Legends 12-inch, Transformers that had multiple sets of hands, articulated hands, butterfly joints, um, LEDs, accessories at the wazoo. They didn't transform. I would have to really see them, but I think that could warrant its own collection. I know I'm like kind of eating my words a little bit now, but I don't think that I think the most egregious thing to Flames Toys is that people are willing to spend Hot Toys prices on figures that I don't think are up to snuff with what Hot Toys offers.
But
I would kill to know what the cost of a Flames Toys figure is, what the actual cost is. From being someone in the high-end retail market that I am in, I would love to know what the cost and the markup is.
Amazon Japan sold Drift for $275, and then he goes for $350 on the aftermarket, and I'm like, that's not worth it. Like case in point, Dinobot is easily the most impressive masterpiece I own, and I was happy to get him for $170. And again, this is another should, would, could figure, right? I mean, the robot mode looks like the CG model to a fault. In my opinion,
let's say that never came out. Let's say Takara never made that of a transforming one. Would you have bought a non-transforming Dinobot that looked like that for $175?
No, absolutely not.
Okay. Just trying to bring things back up to par. Just trying to bring things back up to par.
You know what my mentality would be is I'd say I'm going to wait for a third-party company to make one.
No, I'm saying, what if that was the third party? The third party, like an Artifacts.
No, he's saying he would wait for a third-party attempt at a transforming thing.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Okay.
So here's the thing. Like, you look at a figure like Parakill, right? The Unique Toys version of Lockdown.
Mm-hmm. Which I've heard amazing things about.
Yeah. That figure is like black magic. You look at their version of Optimus Prime. Like, when I saw the design for the Last Night Optimus Prime, I was like, there is no fucking way that thing could ever transform. And what does Unique Toys do? They made it work. And like when Ben's Collectibles got his review sample for that figure, there was so much black magic going on for that. I couldn't believe it. They made it work, and then all of a sudden, like, that crazy ass design for Age of Extinction and Last Night made sense to me. It's like, this thing could actually work. This is a very sensible Transformer. I like. And not only that, but they're easy transformations too. They're not like the most mind-bending things.
And maybe that's the part that rubs. Let me interject real quick. So you just made me think too that, like, that Optimus that you're talking about, do you know offhand how much it runs?
Yeah, it's going to be, so depending on where you get it, it's going to be about $150 retail.
So they're able to take a figure that looks alt mode and a robot mode that looks spot on, has a real world engineered transformation, and they sell it for that much, while the Flames Toys Drift takes, I don't want to say shortcuts, but it has a certain appeal to it that's not transforming, but still costs this mint. Now, side by side, I'm not sure if how they would stack up.
The one caveat with Flames Toys is it's officially licensed, and I think that probably has a bit to do with it too.
But you also got to think too, the third party stuff is. Oh, I had that guy.
And remember, for those listening at home, I'm currently holding up Revoltech Megatron, which was a highly articulated, non-posing G1 Megatron that when he first came out, non-transformable, fully posable Megatron that when he first came out retailed for about $50 back in 2008.
Interchangeable heads, fists,
things like that.
Yeah.
So $50, 2008. This guy would be about a $75 figure now.
Yeah, but the thing there too is They were their own scale. They were smaller than Chug when they came out with those Rebel Techs.
Oh yeah.
Now, one of the things that I think would be awesome is if they came out with a line of like Marvel Legends like figures, right? Like 6-inch action figures, and market them as such, because they could easily get the repaints out of it. And,
I'd love that.
I think that would be cool.
Please don't fall.
I have trouble wrapping my head around Masterpiece scaled figures that don't transform, that cost way more than an official Masterpiece.
Oh, that I'm with you. I won't fight you at all with that. I'm not going to fight you at all with that.
Let me throw one more hypothetical out. This topic's running long, but that's fine.
I think this is good. I think we're getting
good. Yeah. No, I'm down with this. It's what if I'm a cheap ass, and
No.
I hear a lot of people say that I don't own the MP Megatron, but it scuffs up, the paint scrapes on it. Like probably 10% of the people that own that figure, if that, keep it in alt mode displayed if they don't have two. And I'm just thinking, like myself, if someone were to offer that figure without the transformation gimmick, if they just casted the figure itself and released it as such at a cheaper price, like a $30 or $40 for just that scale, that paint, but without the transformation, I would buy it.
Yeah, I don't think it'd be $30-$40 though.
Well, yeah. I mean, it would have to be a price point that would warrant that. Otherwise, if you creep up closer to the transforming one, then why the hell would you get the
right.
one?
Yeah.
But I'm just saying, if there was some way to just create the figures without the transformation gimmick, I would probably, me as a collector, catching up a little with some of the Masterpiece guys. Like, there's certain ones that I've seen that either have, like Trax is another good example. Like, I think Trax is kind of universally one of the worst of the modern era MP cars. That's probably arguable, but I've heard enough people say that the MP Trax is not the best.
Yeah,
that might be another one.
I will agree with you on that.
Yeah, if I was going to add that to my shelf, if I couldn't find him for some ridiculous bottom bargain price somewhere.
That's the irony, though, is that you can find Trax for as low as $35 for an official.
Sure, but my point being though that if the only way I could get that is to if I'm sacrificing transformation, that's another one where if I could get super cheap non-transforming, I'd probably throw him up there with my Masterpiece. Yeah. If it looked the part.
I know you are not against getting a KO, so look at it this way: would you rather spend that similar money on a KO that will transform and sometimes maybe even correct some of the issues of the official? Maybe it will have better paint, maybe it'll hold up a little bit better, or would you go with just the non-transforming but it captures the same exact look?
Well, I guess my hypothetical was in the world where KOs aren't a thing, but since you bring up that they are, I would point up to my prowl that's on my Masterpiece shelf. Don't look too closely at it because it may not be official.
Well, here's the funny part. The best answer to all this is also being done by the biggest culprit of it all. Flames Toys is also doing their model kits. What if Takara released a model kit?
Aren't the same thing. Like
there are people who do like their entire collection for Dragon Ball Z characters. Instead of going figure arts, they're going figurized.
Figurized,
yeah.
So what if Takara did a model kit, for example, of MP Megatron that looked very similar to it for since he's about the size of a master grade Gundam for about $50-$60. You get to build it.
For that, again, with the KOs being a thing, I know that the KO of Megatron runs about $100. Is that right, Jordan?
Yeah, or about, yeah. If you were to get the it depends on who you get it from. If you got it from Show Z or one of them, you probably get it for around 100. I know you can get the Wei Zhang one for 80 in the right spots.
But I'm just saying, you being the cheapskate, you just want something to look good on your shelf. $60, you have an MP looking Megatron, official Takara product.
That would be a consideration. Yes, I would definitely give that a look.
So, and that's exactly what Flames Toys is now also doing, because they're doing a $300 figure and they're doing a $45 model.
I will say too, for me personally, that doesn't dabble. I've never built a model kit in my life.
Oh, they're fun.
Well, you know, I take that back. I actually build. Were they called Zoids?
Yeah, Zoids. They were great.
I built a bunch of Zoids, so I do have those. I'll take that back. But Ben had his video up of the model kit, and I guess me being a model kit newbie saw the promotional pictures for it and was like, wow, this thing looks awesome. Not realizing that one's been touched up and or fully painted. I'm not sure. But when he built his, I'm like, well, that still looks cool, but man, it's lost some luster. You know, like that's not.
Yeah. Not to mention the size. They don't really convey how small the Flames Toys Optimus is.
Yeah, that's true. The pictures are very misleading in the kit for the model kit. It looks cool. I mean, anybody that gets this, like, I think you'll be happy, but they are a little misleading.
All these things about pictures and size reminds me of a lot of bad blind dates I had.
Care to elaborate? Wait, you tell us your story. Joe can act it out with his figures.
That's what we need to do is figure action theater. The Dave Dating Chronicles.
So I think the correct answer to this is if people like it, they'll buy it, and if they buy enough, the companies will make more. Right? I mean, that's what it all boils down to.
It's pretty much in a nutshell.
I can't fault anybody for getting non-transforming figures or statues or whatever else. You know, you get whatever the hell you like, and I'm sure it looks cool as shit on your shelf. And at
the end of the day, that's what really matters is when you especially for me too, when you look at something and how cool does it look? How much does that appeal to you? And if you're comfortable with the price, it doesn't really matter what the price is.
We actually had a discussion point about statues. How do you guys feel about statues? Do you collect them? What's your consensus on them?
I have statues. I wouldn't say that I collect them because I don't have any particular line that I have to get, every one that comes out or even multiples. But I do have how do you pronounce it? The Kotobuki. Yeah, I have some of those. I'm really into this show, Space Battleship Yamato, or it's called Star Blazers in America. There's not a whole lot of figures. They did 2 figure arts, but there's tons of these little plastic statues, and I've got several of those. But they are, and I got a bunch of DBZ statues. But yeah, they're kind of like, for me, like something, if I can get it for a cheap price and it kind of fills a gap, then I'll go with a statue. But if I can get a articulated figure, then that's the way I'm going to go.
If my collection wasn't sequestered to this room and I was a single man in my own house, there'd be a few statues floating around. I truly see the appeal to them. I just don't have room for them in my life.
I'm kind of weird with them because, like, for video game stuff, I'll get statues. I mostly get them with like collector's editions. Like, I've got the God of War collector's edition, and I've got that nice statue of Kratos and Atreus. I've got the Sonic Mania collector's edition that has Sonic on that replica Sega Genesis, and you press the reset button, it says Sega. I've got the Gears of War.
Select does some gorgeous ones.
They do. They absolutely do. And there's the Imaginarium statues for Transformers, and I was looking at that Grimlock statue the other day. I'm a very big Grimlock fan. Like, Grimlock and Prime are probably my 2 favorite Autobots, if not Transformers.
Zero, if you look above your TV there over your shoulder, I would count those right along with the rest of the statues as well.
Amiibo, I think Amiibo probably count. I was going to say they're probably more in the ballpark of figurines. But yeah, if I were to count Amiibo, then I've got a crap ton of them. But again, that kind of falls into the realm of video game statues. But I appreciate Amiibo for being small scale video game statues, and what Nintendo was able to do with those. I think is really good. I hope that they kind of go back to being easy to obtain again.
Just statues need to be displayed. That's the big thing.
They do.
If you don't, I have a very good understanding with my wife that the nerd stays here, not out there. If I could get a display, if I was allowed one Detolf outside this room, I will tell you now that Imaginariums, I think it was an Imaginarium that had that Starscream coming out. I'd get that. I'd have that Diamond Select World War Hulk. Probably a Ghost Rider statue just because it looks that freaking awesome, and maybe a Bruce Lee one just because. I mean, they are art.
Could you
that Voltron one? Oh my god, that Voltron statue.
Nice.
Yeah.
Could you convince her? You think if you told her you were going to keep it super classy and like really, really...
And then I get a bunch of Kodabakiyas. No.
Don't be like me.
I would not win that fight. It's just easily if I was Nerd Bachelor Pad, they would be out there. I'll go visit Zero.
Oh, thank you. Hey, that's the thing. Like when and I'm getting closer to buying a house. When I get my own house, all this is going to stay like in the basement. Like I'm going to keep everything like kind of classy upstairs. I'll probably have art upstairs, until
a statue would work. You can get a nerd statue.
No, I mean like paint, but it would be like subtle things. Like I'd have like like those things that are like video game art, but you don't know that they are like the Rapture propaganda posters. I'd have like a couple of those.
That stuff.
Yeah,
that stuff. That stuff is awesome.
Like I would be like all about subtlety upstairs, and then when you walk downstairs, you're like, oh shit, this guy's a fucking nerd.
So you're not going to get the sexy Jeff Goldblum to put over your fireplace?
I mean, you know what?
Kramer. You could get the Kramer.
You know what? He could go over my fireplace. And you would have to look and go, I see it now. The clues were here the whole time.
Life found a way.
Life found a way. He didn't stop to think whether he should or could. He was too busy. Okay. You were too busy trying to figure out whether you should or could. Hey, I'm not. At least I can. At least I'm honest. I'm not like here like Googling it right now. You can see both of my hands. For those watching on the.
You just want to play Spider-Man. I know.
Honestly, that was the other thing I got this week. Was
has that updated yet?
PlayStation 4. It has updated. And for anyone that was paying attention to Puddlegate, don't pay attention to Puddlegate because that game looks even better than the E3 trailers did. They changed the texture on the suit. Digital Foundry did a great video talking about the technical specs of the game and a complete assessment. And it's one of the best looking games on the PS4, hands down. And honestly, I think it is the best Spider-Man game to date. I think it's the best game since Treyarch did Spider-Man 2 on the Xbox, PS2, and GameCube.
That was a good game. I think Bruce Campbell is Mysterio in that.
He was, actually.
Real quick. Gort says that his last remaining statue is Zorak from Space Ghost. That's amazing. That's amazing. That's well played, sir. Well played. The real quick on the Spider-Man thing. You all played Spider-Man 2, right? The original, back Tobey Maguire, Spider-Man 2.
Yeah, that's what we were just talking about.
Yeah. Is that what you're? Oh, sorry, I was reading the comments real quick. Mm-hmm. With the Bruce Campbell intro, the training module. Do you remember that?
Yes.
Did you already talk about that? Am I retreading literally from 10 seconds ago?
You're retreading.
There was a lot of Bruce Campbell in that game.
There is, but I will always remember that intro where he's eating a sandwich while guiding you through the button setup. It's amazing. Anybody that doesn't know what I'm talking about, I'm sure there's a YouTube video of it. Go find it. It's great.
So if this is better than that one, yeah, I haven't bought a single player game in a while, so once I find
I
out how much
believe they even got oh boy, what's his name? I'm checking IMDb now before I put words in my mouth. No, they got Darren DePaul. I was gonna say I thought for a second that they got boy, what's his name? To be J. Jonah Jameson.
Oh, from the commercial, the same dude. What's his name?
Oh my gosh, come on. He's the yellow
I
M&M.
don't know why I can't think of his name. He actually does a fair amount of voiceover.
Someone's listening to this right now screaming at us.
I know.
Oh, come on. It's on the tip of my tongue. I know
J.K.
this one.
Simmons.
Yeah,
Thank you.
Yeah, the J. Jonah Jameson that they got in the Spider-Man game sounds an awful lot like J.K. Simmons, and it was like one of the things I meant to do today was like Google that, and I failed miserably. But I like the cast. I mean, I'm a big fan of Insomniac games. They did Ratchet and Clank. They did Resistance: Fall of Man. They made the original Spyro the Dragon trilogy, and it's really cool to see.
Which is getting a re-release next month.
Yeah. No, I actually got pushed back to November.
Oh. Right.
But I'm looking forward to that. I'm glad it got pushed back, though I'm going to hold out for the Switch version because I enjoy playing games in bed when I'm crippled at the end of the evening.
Amen to that.
Not my idea of the games to play in bed, but it's up to you.
No.
Did you just reach and straighten for your imaginary tie? I hope that's what you did, because that
That
was
is exactly what I was doing.
Looked like it.
Oh my! I will still stand my ground that J.K. Simmons it is still to this date the most perfect casting in any anything. That was so. I mean, it's like
Speaking
they
of his
planned it.
casting, is it okay for them to bring him back for the new Spider-Man franchise?
Oh, man,
is that like
I would give
he
$5
has to be the exception to the rule of recasting the same actor and the same character in a rebooted franchise?
I mean, technically, was Superman Returns a reboot? Because they brought Marlon Brando back, to be Jor-El, even though he was dead.
Yeah.
But does that for anything?
But no one else can play the character?
Oh, Jor-El?
No, of J. Jonah. I mean, who else are you going to get? You have to get J.K. Simmons.
I mean, they got somebody else for the Andrew Garfield movies.
And right, you just said it. They got somebody else. I don't know who the hell it is. I don't fucking
care. But he didn't have the impact. And then, they got J.K. Simmons to play fucking Commissioner Gordon, and that was weird.
Mm-hmm.
For me, Commissioner Gordon, was best played by
Gary Oldman.
Gary Oldman, yeah.
It's funny you say that. I'm actually trying to imagine Gary Oldman playing Jonah Jameson, and I think he'd have a blast trying it.
He probably would if he brought some of the energy, that he had in Fifth Element. If he brought that Fifth Element,
that's exactly what I'm thinking.
Yeah.
If he pulled that off, that would be absolutely hilarious. And the fact they did a full trade.
I would love it if in one of the MCU Spider-Mans they took the meme. Because I mean, that's the thing is they did the I'm the Juggernaut bitch in X-Men
3.
X-Men 3. But
they
I would
never made
love
a third
to
X-Men
have.
movie.
Okay, they made a third Wolverine movie. If they took the I don't want celebrity nudes, I want pictures of Spider-Man. If they had him deliver that line. I think
he owned that role. He flat out owned that role.
He did.
And I'm not trying to start a tangent. Spider-Man 2 was still probably one of my favorite superhero movies. MCU.
Oh, yeah. You're not alone. There's a lot of people say that.
You know what? Spider-Man the animated series. That J. Jonah Jameson.
That was good too. I mean, yeah.
Spider-Man the animated series was ruined to me after I read one very important trivial fact. Apparently, they were told they could never actually show Spider-Man punching anybody because they didn't want little kids to be dressed up as Spider-Man.
Well,
And then once I realized that, everything got ruined to me because I'm so used to seeing Spider-Man knocking people out.
Well, that's the secret of the used dilemma too, right? I mean, I don't know if anybody ever knew, but that's listening. But the secret of the used, if you ever go back and watch Ninja Turtles 2, they barely ever, if ever, use their weapons because of that very fact that after the first one, there was such blowback, I guess, from parents or whatever.
That's why Michelangelo got the grappling hook instead of nunchucks.
Yep, and that's why he used the combat cold cuts in the beginning of the movie too. I mean, it's a great scene, but that's why it exists, is because they weren't allowed to utilize their weapons in the second movie. Which, as a kid, I never even really noticed watching it. I mean, but now that it's pointed out to me, you can't unsee it. So I don't know. And I never knew that about punching.
We don't notice as kids.
Sure.
It's like the stormtrooper hitting his head and the disappearing TIE fighter. Once you know they're there, they'll stand out like a sore thumb.
I never noticed as a kid that Transformers weapons never did any damage at all. They just bounced off harmlessly. And then the movie comes out, and all of a sudden, the same exact weapons are like blowing the shit out of every single character.
Poke somebody, they go to pieces.
You know, what's funny is I remember when I was a kid, my mom explained it to me, and she goes, "Well, they said that they were low on energon," and I thought, like, oh,
G.I. Joe, everybody had parachutes,
and G.I. Joe as well. 35,000 shots fired through the course of the series, and no one got hit.
Yeah,
I just made that number
military training ever.
Yeah, I mean it's a real number, but I just picked it out of thin air.
Ed Asner was J. Jonah Jameson on the animated series.
No shit.
Yeah. Oh, really?
I was trying to remember who did the voice, and it was Ed Asner.
And now it makes sense.
Man, if he was younger,
you get you some of that.
No, God no.
So we know Parts likes them old and British.
Yeah, see, he's not British.
Zero wants them young.
Hey, he's born in Kansas City, Missouri.
God, I'm gonna be going nuts until next week trying to think of who would I recast J. Jonah Jameson with. Gary Oldman is still my top one right now.
I think
J.K. Simmons recast as J.K.
Knowing Hollywood, they'll probably cast a female as it'll be Jane Jonah Jameson.
Jane Jonah Jameson.
Who would you cast as Jane Jonah Jameson? Because I already have an answer right now.
So do I.
Oh, I got
Judge Judy. Judge Judy.
No, I wouldn't pick Judge Judy.
Glenn Close.
That's a good one.
Who are you thinking, Jordan?
Candice Bergen, Murphy Brown.
I was thinking Sigourney Weaver.
And Sigourney Weaver's a good choice too.
Yeah.
Oh, nice. We got some good. Those are some good ones.
Yeah.
You got one, Joe?
Let's try not to give. I just
you don't want to give them ideas, but
I don't want to give them ideas, but then I was thinking, it could be kind of cool to maybe have B. Arthur. But then you have to think, like,
dead.
why would she still be working at that age? She would have to be retired.
And she's dead.
They just cut through her grave.
That's what I'm saying. It would be nice, but
Wait. Do I really want to fully Hollywood it? Angela Bassett.
No, but if it was somebody that was alive, if it was
Oprah,
a living actress, I would have said Carrie Fisher, because like watching her as Angela on Family Guy.
Yeah, I can see that.
Yeah, with like Griffin,
Nate Simmons,
we just gotta
Laura
hope.
Linney.
We have to hope that no Hollywood execs are watching.
I know.
They might be.
And they're going,
you know what? We did post it on Facebook.
Yeah.
We did. Mark Zuckerberg is watching. He's going to raise his hand.
I feel that you should cast Glenn Close as a Jane Jonah Jameson. It would be fun.
Actually, you know what? If they were
Zuckerberg impression.
If we were going to go younger, I would say Amy Poehler would be another good one.
That might be too goofy. I mean, JJ is goofy, but she's actually. I don't know. I feel like
not Amy Poehler. Go her partner in crime. Go her partner in crime.
Oh, Tina Fey.
Tina Fey.
Yeah,
Tina freaking Fey.
if we were going to go back to a traditional J. Jonah Jameson casting outside of Gary Oldman, you know who else would be great? Nick Offerman.
I don't know that name.
Ron Swanson.
Oh,
Yes.
oh yeah. Okay.
Yes.
These are good ideas.
Yeah. Or even Steve Carell and just basically Michael Scott the fuck out of
No. You lost me. You had me, then you lost me.
Nah.
Dwight, though.
I don't think of J. Jonah Jameson having a gigantic forehead.
Nate Simmons says Jeff Bridges.
Yeah. I could see Jeff Bridges.
Man, whatever, man. Like, you know, I don't know.
I'd see him more as Yorick.
Yeah.
I tell you what, though, who would you cast as Mysterio?
Well, they've already got somebody cast as Mysterio.
But did they?
Isn't Jake Gyllenhaal going to be Mysterio?
Yeah, oh yeah. Never mind that.
And I think he'll be great. I think he'll be fantastic for it.
You know, with casting choice, I'm actually excited about that. A lot of people are kind of passing off, even though I'm not big on the DCEU. Is Joaquin Phoenix as the Joker?
It's a little late.
Really confused. What are they doing with these Joker movies? They have a Joaquin Phoenix Joker movie coming out. They're still planning on using Jared Leto. They're
looking at Fox and what they've done with the X-Men franchise and kind of rolling with that.
I heard there was a Leo DiCaprio movie in development too. I don't know if they have with Martin Scorsese involved.
I thought Scorsese was doing the Joaquin one for some reason.
Is he doing the Joaquin one?
I thought he was producing it.
I don't know. There's been so many crazy rumors going out about that.
Yeah.
I don't know if I like Jake Gyllenhaal and that. I still picture Bubble Boy when I think of Jake Gyllenhaal.
Oh, geez, that's a throwback.
What does Mysterio have on his head? What does Mysterio have on his head?
Maybe that's why they did it.
Nate Simmons wrote Tim Curry for Mysterio, and goddamn, would that have been a good choice? But
that would have been good back in the day.
And unfortunately, Tim Curry doesn't have his mobility anymore.
Yeah, pre-stroke Curry.
Yeah, but that voice going on with Mysterio. Had they done that, had they not shoehorned Venom into the Raimi movies and stopped making Raimi give a crap about doing Spider-Man movies, they could have probably done that, dual trilogy.
Here would might be more fun casting. Who would you do for Kraven?
Oh, so. Are we talking a serious Kraven or a fun Kraven?
One that you'd see standing right next to Michael Keaton. Let's put it that way.
Okay. If we were going to do that, I would probably pick Tom Hardy.
That was the first name that came to my mind too.
Except he's Venom.
But that cat, when he played Glass in the Venom, that's what I think about is there's a guy that can, and that's the damn shame with him playing Venom is that's a man that can act with his eyes, and that it's basically just like CG over his face for a good portion of the movie when he's playing the monster. I think it's a crying shame.
And unfortunately, since Sony still is working with Marvel, they can't exactly Josh Brolin him.
Oh, Nate Simmons has an awesome idea. He says, Jeffrey Dean Morgan or Javier Bardem for Kraven. Jeffrey Dean Morgan, I could totally see. Then Gort wrote Danny McBride for a funny Kraven, and that's exactly what I was thinking when I said, "What kind of Kraven are we talking about?"
You know what? I could actually see them doing Holland going through the what's his name? It's Peter Parker going through the channels. And it's like a Crocodile Hunter show with Danny McBride.
Well, they had Danny McBride playing the
Crocodile Dundee.
Crocodile Dundee. Did that movie even come out?
It wasn't a real
commercial.
Movie. It was just
an ad for Australia.
It was literally not real.
Wow.
You are the last person to know that.
Damn. Damn, that's a little rough. I'm sure
Yeah.
that the last person. I'm sure there's someone in like, some.
I don't
country,
know. I wasn't paying attention. I'm sorry. I was Googling, and
I mean, it got.
I see a couple good ideas actually on here for Craven. What's the name of the little dude from Game of Thrones?
Oh, Tyrion.
For some reason, when I Google Craven casting, he's one of the first. He's like in the top 4 rows of pictures.
Wait, you're talking the dwarf, the guy played Tyrion?
Yeah. What's his name?
That's
We're batting 0 today.
Man, yeah, pun intended.
Jesus.
Diggle.
Peter Dinklage.
Thank you.
Peter Dinklage. There you go.
Well, problem is Dinklage has been in. He was in X-Men and he was in Infinity War.
Mal Bennett. Done.
Ooh. Yes.
Problem solved right there.
Deathstroke himself. Yes. Wait, did you say Manu?
Manu, is that how you pronounce it? Mao.
Are you talking about the guy? Are you talking about the guy who played Deathstroke in Arrow?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, you've solved it. That is the perfect casting.
That's crazy.
By the way, Peter Dinklage would be an amazing Dr. Psycho for a Wonder Woman movie. Google Dr. Psycho, and then if Peter Dinklage doesn't play him, Warner Brothers is stupid.
Now, who would you cast as MODOK?
Bruce Campbell.
It's a good choice. I would pick someone a little bit more. I don't know, a little like someone that can do like a creepier voice, and that would be Mads Mikkelsen.
Actually, can you imagine Christopher Walken doing MODOK?
I can picture him doing a caricature of MODOK.
Well, like kind of like how they did with James Spader being Ultron.
I mean, yeah, but I don't really want like the. You see, I'm the how would Walken say it? I'm a machine.
As you can see, I've got a rocket up my ass.
As you can see, I'm a machine designed only for killing. That's what I'm going to do. I don't know. I wouldn't. Yeah, even Matt's groaning.
Okay.
Wow.
Was that a hidden pun? Matt groaning? Was that
Matt groaning? Matt groaning. Well, at any rate, I think we've covered a lot of ground tonight. For anybody listening, we hinted that we're going to have a special guest next week, and it's another industry insider. In fact, we have another industry insider lined up after that. So kind of hope you guys have enjoyed, and gals have enjoyed our kind of candidness this evening and our topics, kind of going off the beaten path. And Nate Simmons writes Frank Welker for MODOK, and if they did a purely CGI version, I would be all for that.
Or Corey Burton.
That'd be another good one. But yeah, I think we had some good fun nights, and yeah, next week we're gonna have an industry insider, and the following week we will have one as well. And spoiler alert, outside of True's contest, I'm gonna be having one, provided I can allocate the piece I'm looking for. So check back with us next week, and that will be a live giveaway if I can get it. Otherwise, I'll have something almost as good to give away, but there will be a live giveaway next week for our faithfuls in the chat. I want to thank you all for joining us tonight. We'll just run down the panel real quick, starting off with True Starscreamer. Where can we find you at?
Well, this evening, you could have found me next to my daughter taking care of her, but most of the time it's going to be on Instagram at True Starscreamer, where once again, put your pictures, #FigureActionPodcast. I'll be keeping an eye out for you. Again, also on PlayStation Network, True Starscreamer, TRU, and on the Facebooks at David Lutwack.
Right on. Partsformer, where can everybody find you out there?
I am Partsformer on the Twitter, on Instagram, Xbox Live, and I think that's it. And then right here, every Friday night.
Right on. Joe, how about you, buddy? Where can everybody find you at?
I am on Facebook, Joe Crab, and you can find me on Instagram at JoeFigure83. Unfortunately, you will not find me here next week. I will be in Florida on a little mini vacation, a little getaway with the wife. So I'm going to try to tune in if I can, but I should be back the following week.
No kids?
No kids.
Congratulations
Nice.
on your new expected child.
No, that's not happening. It can't happen. We've
Sorry.
taken measures.
Yeah, he took care of that. He took care of it.
As for me, you can find me on the Facebook groups under James Jordan. You can find me on Instagram at Extra Zero or as Extra Zero. You can find me on Twitter at The Original Zero and on the PlayStation Network and Xbox Live as Extra Zero. Though you'll probably find me more on PlayStation as I'll be trying to work my way through Spider-Man over the next coming months. And of course, you can find me here every Friday night. I want to thank everybody for watching, everybody for participating in the chat. Nathan Simmons, our friend Gort. We got Trent's5 in here. We have TMAN 978, Comic Book Beach. We had 30, our good buddy Chuck, Alexa, my girlfriend, and Stephen Brent. So we'll see you all here next Friday night, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And we're going to have a very special guest with us from a company that I think a lot of you are familiar with. It's going to be a good time. We're going to have some good discussion topics, and we hope to see you all here. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching, and we'll catch you all next time. Peace.
Good night, everybody.
Good night.